Energy efficiency is more important today than ever. Homeowners are making smart decisions that will drastically increase their savings while providing them with a more comfortable living space. They made the first move by choosing Green Energy Barrier. Now, it's up to us to install the product so that they can see and feel the results. Before you begin installation, make sure you have the proper tools. You will need a utility knife, staple gun, light source, tape measure, platform, and ladder. The most important item needed for the installation is the product itself, Green Energy Barrier. First developed to serve the building industry needs, Green Energy Barrier has grown in its appeal. The reason? Unlike mass insulation, which only slows down or resists heat transfer, Green Energy Barrier reflects heat. This makes it ideal for regulating temperature and preserving energy. During winter's cold, it holds heat in, and during summer's warmth, it reflects the sun's heat before it can warm up insulation in your attic. Therefore, your house stays cooler. The tight seal and airspace prohibits heat transfer by convection and conduction. Instead, the reflective surface inhibits radiation heat transfer. The best part is that Green Energy Barrier can be installed on top of existing installation regardless of the amount already in place. Aside from these benefits, it boasts incredible energy savings for the consumer. It practically sells itself. The process for cold climate installation for the Green Energy Barrier is a relatively simple one. On this type of install, you roll the barrier on the floor trusses. Be sure to overlap each row by about 1 to 2 inches. Remember to staple every few feet as needed to prevent the barrier from moving. It is important to cut around rafters with a concise cut in order to avoid leaving gaps. During installation, be cautious of wires and other objects as well. To install Green Energy Barrier for warm climate areas, the product should be stapled to the ceiling rafters. The barrier should be rolled from the tip of the roof to the bottom edge. Each row should be stapled to the rafters and overlap the previous row by about 1 inch. Use your utility knife to cut around any ventilation areas. Be cautious of wires and other objects during installation. When installing Green Energy Barrier in an area that has recessed lighting, there are a few things you should know. If the lighting is covered with insulation, then you can cover it with the product. However, if the lighting is exposed, you should cut around it, leaving the casing exposed. This will allow for proper venting of heat from the light. Again, watch for wires during the installation process. After installation, always assess your work and be sure that everything looks good and meets the requirements mentioned earlier. Regardless of the type of installation, the finished space should look clean and covered. Here's a quick recap of some important things to remember during installation. Be sure to have the proper tools with you before beginning the job. On a cold climate install, the barrier is rolled onto the floor trusses. On a warm climate install, the barrier is stapled onto the ceiling rafters. With any installation, be sure to staple the product firmly in place and allow for the designated amount of overlap. Always cut around things like rafters and ventilation when necessary. Be aware of your surroundings and wires or cables that may be in place. Remember, successful installation is not just a benefit to the customer. As more and more consumers embrace Green Energy Barrier, it promises to have a bigger impact on the environment at large. While cost savings are important to the consumer and revenues are important to the dealer, the ultimate satisfaction lies in knowing we have all contributed to making our communities more energy efficient, and that is something we can all be proud of.